Tatai said that he would try and get away with it, but he wasn't too worried if he couldn't. He battled just like he did at Assen a week ago. The lights are on and off, and everybody gets a good roll. I think Haruki Noguchi, maybe, who had on the number 56 machine, he has the advantage going into the first corner. Great start from the Japanese, but around the outside, is it Yuki Kuni? Somebody's gone around the outside, but wide. It's still Noguchi who has the advantage going down the hill. It was Kuni on the number 92 machine who slotted into second place, so it's the Japanese 1-2 at the moment. Billy Van Erd up into third place ahead of Uriat. Tatai back to fifth place.
Uriat, definitely, yeah, he had some radical lines going into turn one, thinking he might swing to the left and then round a few riders, but he certainly reacted well and got up there first, but the long way around is not always the best plan on race one, on lap one.
Right, so down the hill through these long, ever quicker right-handers, now starting to climb the hill again. So crucial. It doesn't really on the TV show you just what a steep climb this is to the top of the circuit, and I think it's Cooney who actually has taken up the running. That is David Salvador on number 38, but it's Cooney, I think, as we'll go down the hill, down the waterfall section. Again, it's an enormous drop, and there's somebody with a technical problem, is it? Or somebody had a nasty moment, has pulled over to the right-hand side, through the left-hander at the bottom of the circuit. A short rise up to the last corner. It is Yuki Kuni who has the advantage. Noguchi in second place, so it's still two Japanese out in front across the start finish to complete the first lap. Noguchi looking for the slipstream of Kuni as they go across the line. Uriat, the Spaniard, is there. Tatai Van Erd in fifth place. Gavin Plants up to sixth. Looking up the inside, 99 is Carlos Tatai. He moves into third place as they drop down the hill.
Good solid start for Tatai. He was fourth there coming over the line on that first lap, but grabbed a couple of positions as he headed into turn one. And Uriat as well, just a nice, good first lap for him, but he was just looking out for someone coming up his inside, just moved over for Tatai into turn one there, so just keeping things safe. But great riding for these guys. It's really hectic on the first lap. They're just settling down, slotting into their race, getting a feel for the racetrack, but everyone behaving themselves and riding really well so far.
And Cooney has the advantage, but he did say that the injured wrist, he had the wrist plated after that Mugello crash. He said he's not sure how long the strength will last. He starts to lose feeling in it, but he said it is feeling a lot better than it did a week ago at Assen, where he said he really struggled with the pain through the race.
Well, the best physio for injuries like that is actually riding, and he will feel better every time he rides the bike. But when you get into a race situation, unlike practice, really is adrenaline that gets you through, and I'm sure it'll be the last thing he's thinking about, and adrenaline's probably the best pain relief, best painkiller out there, so I'm sure that'll help him in this race.
Tatai up into second place. He's gone past Noguchi. It still is Cooney that leads as they come up over the start and finish to complete lap 2. Still 17 remaining.
Tatai number 99 there as well. He's well used to this. His confidence is on an absolute high. He's having a great season, so he won't be worried that he's not able to pull away in the front. He's very confident. He's very at one with his bike. His bike seems to work pretty much every racetrack now, and he knows the racetracks as well, so he's in a really good place.
Yeah, it's all line astern at the moment. Nobody with any kind of advantage at all the way back to sort of 16th place. And there you're looking back at Yuki Kuni on board, looking back at Yuki Kuni down the hill again.
Fairly fast laps coming early on. Fastest lap on that first line lap, 29.7 to Carlos Tatai. That's 9/10 outside the lap record so far. Lap 2, that's pretty impressive.
So you were on board with Carlos Tatai, looking back at Kuni, and Kuni's now gone back up into second place. Noguchi has the advantage on 56. But it's a slipstream battle going down the hill. Fanning out. Tatai on 99 looks up the inside. But that's 89 is Marcus Uriatu in the yellow helmet. And we've got a jump start from Mario, so he's got to ride through penalty. Bad luck for him. Through the final corner and out onto the start finish again, and Uriatu is up into a good second place, chasing Noguchi across the line. He pulls out alongside. Is he going to try and outbrake him into? He can't do it. Noguchi takes the line. Up the inside comes the 99 machine of Tatai. Around the outside is Uriat. and that is 88 is Artem Marev. He's going to have the drive-through penalty.
And he'll get 3 laps to do that. He will see a signal on the start-finish straight. And no doubt his pit crew will be telling him as well. So he's got 3 laps to do that. Otherwise, he's black flag. And that looked like, was that 89 Uriarte having a big moment coming up the hill there, just a little bit sideways on the throttle, just a little bit too early, asking a little bit too much of the rear tyre. And it's actually split the group up a little bit. You can see that. Noguchi and Tatai away.
Yeah, it is. It's Tatai who leads Noguchi away now. And Uriarte, as you say, split that thing up. And Cooney is up into 3rd place. He's seen the 2 ahead go and is going to try and get after them very, very quickly indeed. 29 is Billy Van Aert. He's in 4th place. And they really have got to get on terms, because Noguchi and Tatai are well capable of running away with this.
They need to bridge that gap, because these 2 at the front will pull each other along. There's no doubt about that. If it's just one rider in front, there's less of a chance. But these 2 will drag each other round. They'll help each other slipstream. They won't, I guess, be intending to pull away, but they will be passing each other and, as I said, helping each other around this racetrack. It's not traditional slipstreaming, because it's not the normal long straights. Some of the straights are long, fast corners, but it's still really important on these smaller bikes to get tucked in behind the guy in front.
So Noguchi pulls out of the slipstream, goes straight past Tatai on the brakes, but there's a wide line in, and Tatai just comes very, very neatly up the inside. I'm sure Noguchi will learn from that as they go down the hill, and I think, if anything, the other guys are closing that gap as they rush down the hill after them, and it's led by Cooney and Billy Van Aert. Pedro Acosta is up into 5th place. He didn't have a particularly good run in qualifying, but he was quick through the free practice sessions, and certainly we've seen from the last couple of weekends how quick Pedro Acosta can be on a number 37 bike.
That's a nice passing manoeuvre, Tatai, and a nice move he's got up his sleeve into turn 1 there. If you can pass up the inside and make the apex, which he has done a couple of times, it's very, very useful. Not easy to do that, but he's obviously got his bike set up well. Generally is really good on the brakes, but certainly works well there into turn 1.
Yeah, and Billy Van Aert has closed that gap on the leading duo. Superb stuff from the young Australian. You can see there that gap has disappeared completely as they go down the hill. It's Carlos Tatai with the advantage, still over Noguchi. Cooney is there in 3rd place. Billy Van Aert in 4th.
Yeah, he did well to close that gap, and Billy Van Aert certainly got the pace of the front. He's certainly got podium pace, front running pace at the moment, looking really comfortable. This last corner is so important as well, to get a nice run in, but also to get back control, maintain your corner speed, and get a nice drive out as well, because if you get bogged down there, it's really steep uphill onto start finish straight and can cost you a whole load of time.
And there was a little bit of a gap back to Pedro Acosta in 5th place, but he's already closed that. I really believed he was capable of it, and he has pretty much done it as they dive downhill again, still with Tatai and Noguchi with the slightest advantage.
Yeah, 1.8 seconds covering the top 11 at the moment, so very much a massive group still fighting for the podium.
And it was interesting, Neil, what you're talking about, the tyre situation. Talking to Carlos Tatai straight after qualifying, he said he'd try and break away if he could, but he's very much a thinking rider. I wonder how many of the guys, including principally Tatai, went over things and really thought, well, maybe I've got to conserve a little bit of tyres towards the end of the race, and that perhaps he isn't putting 100% effort in.
Well, he's normally really busy on the bike. He's quite an aggressive rider, obviously very fast, but he's looking very smooth, and that might suggest that he is actually just trying to ride smooth, just maybe riding at 95, 98%, not giving it everything at this point. And he's got, as I said, a few good passing manoeuvres up his sleeve. He's very confident. He can do the lap time, so he may well just be comfortable doing this at this moment. But he has to stay in the top 2 or 3 really to make sure he can mount an attack towards the end of the race.
Still 14 laps to go.
Well, further back the field, the fast laps are coming. Max Cook, actually the Brit, went over the line there in 9th, but set the fastest lap of the race, 1:29.4. So Max Cook got some strong pace, and that would suggest to me as well this group he's very much in touch for a podium if he can find a way to get past some of these guys. And that's...
Yeah, and it has closed up completely again, hasn't it? So, the leading duo had a chance to get away, then it looked like 4, and there's Marev serving his drive-through. Yeah. So he probably just done that just about in time before he got black flagged for it. We'll see his start. Oh, and you could see him, yeah, leap forward. It was quite clearly
yeah,
that if you're going to do it big, you know.
It certainly worked. Yeah, he grabbed a few places there, but he has paid the penalty.
Right, so that was the first lap down the hill, but now Marev, of course, will be right at the back of the field now. Very unfortunate for him. And there was Marev, I think, just dived past.
There's
no Salvador. That was a close one. Salvador got beaten up going into the first corner. He didn't get away well at all. Anyway, we're back now with the leaders, and Salvador is actually up into 7th place now, so he didn't make a good start, but he's in the middle of that group, and he is 2nd place in the championship chase, is the young Spaniard. So, wow, that's a really tight bunch again now, still with 13 laps remaining. We're only 6 down. It's still Tatai leads Noguchi, and 29 Billy Van Aert across the line. Cooney, Acosta, Uriart, Fallon, Salvador. Cook is 8th, Dupasquier 10th. Fabulous stuff.
And considering the nature of this track, the changes of elevation, the tight twistiness of it, it still throws up real close races, which is brilliant. There's different ways of riding it. As we were talking about the technicalities of it, depending on how you approach the corners and how you set your bike up and gearing, there's lots of different lines. There's certainly lots of passing opportunities as well, and there's and you see the guys, some of the corners appearing 4 or 5 abreast heading in, so brilliant for the smaller classes here at the Sachsenring.
Right, you're on board with David Salvador as he crossed the line in 8th place in the previous lap. Superb on-board action. Chasing through the left-handers, about to switch right and go down the huge drop-off. Billy Van Aert on the 29 machine is up into 2nd place behind Carlos Tatai, looking for the lead. Can he go around the outside? He can't. There's no room to go around there, but he's really well positioned if he wants to dive on the brakes up the inside into the last left-hander. It's early for desperate manoeuvres, but maybe Billy fancies a chance of leading this race. Through the last left-hander, on to the start and finish straight again to complete lap 9 of 19.
And Billy, smaller in stature than Carlos Tatai, gets tucked in a little bit better, so nice for aerodynamics on the faster straights. And of course, a great mentor as well in the form of Jack Miller. If Jack Miller's telling you they're good, then you will believe you're good. But Billy Van Aert doing a great job, and as I said, just showing us the potential we knew he always had.
Yeah, a desperately unlucky start to the season, but he's certainly in the mix now. Just losing out a little bit on the climb up the hill to Tatai. Noguchi is right behind him, waiting to pick up any mistakes. Cooney still in 4th place, ahead of Acosta, Uriart, Salvador, Fallon, Dupasquier and Cook.
And this is what Carlos Tatai did in Mugello. He just sneaked away a little bit. 5 or 6 laps into the race, he's just able to get a little gap, and then the guys behind started tripping over each other, and then before he knew it, he had a couple of seconds gap, and he's confident running at the front. There doesn't seem to be anyone that's challenging him. He's quite happy to run up there at the front, but Billy Van Aert well in his slipstream this time as they head down the waterfall. Yeah,
now Billy had a look on the right side on the last lap. Here he's having a look on the left up the inside. Still can't make it stick. Maybe he's just trying it. Yeah. Going to make the move later in the race.
Well, ideal just doing that, getting a bit of a look where Carlos is faster, where he might be able to get a bit of a gap. Certainly up over the hill there, he was able to get in his slipstream and get a lot closer. So he needs to think about being able to brake a little bit later in here, because Tatai is certainly good in the brakes into turn 1, whether he swings out wide for the perfect line or he gets down the inside, but very confident there.
And we've gone half distance, and Yuki Cooney is still very much hanging in there in 3rd place. So maybe that wrist, as Neil said, it's getting better and better as he uses it through the races. Marcus Uriart on the 89 machine, he's looking good in 6th place, just behind Acosta. All of those guys well capable. They've all been on the podium, as Acosta and Salvador. Uriart hasn't. He, as I say, was penalised out of a podium place at Assen.
Lap time stabilised, all the top 11 in the 129 bracket. Fast laps are into 28th lap records there at high 28. So,
and I think Billy's gone for the lead. You're on board with Carlos Tate, looking back at Yuki Cooney, and Billy Van Eerd has disappeared. I think it is now the Australian that leads as he does change direction on the 29 machine to go down the hill at the head of the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup race here at the Sachsenring. And they're 3 abreast behind him. Up the inside comes Yuki Cooney, passes his fellow countryman and pushes Carlos Tate back to 4th place. So Tate went from 1st to 4th in just a couple of corners.
Now we'll see if number 99 Tate has got anything left, or he was just saving things for later in the race. But Billy Van Eerd did have a look at that move on the previous lap and obviously knew he was catching. He strung up the hill following Tate, but he pulled it off this time.
And you're on board with Tate again, and nearly lost 4th place. In fact, he's actually losing out as they go down the hill. The leading trio have jumped ahead of him. And just from looking super smooth and super confident, we've had a fall. It is 38.
Salvador,
it's down at Salvador. So maybe that's the 2nd place in the championship chase gone for the Spaniard, the 15-year-old Spaniard. I've cursed him, didn't I? Because I said he'd been so consistent so far this year. Absolutely superb. 4th, 6th, 4th, 5th, 2nd.
He was nicely in that bunch as well.
Yeah.
Nice 7th place. He was
Looking
quite
really good.
there. Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, I definitely cursed the poor lad.
Taken out.
We're just as they changed
the wrong
direction.
Place there. Yeah, wrong part of the track at the wrong time on the outside there. I'm not sure.
You're on board with him now.
Oh.
Yeah, and down you go.
It's such a one-line section of the racetrack there down the hill, and so easy to get caught out. And yeah, it doesn't take much. You're carrying a lot of lean angle, a lot of corner speed.
And Fellon, number 5, you saw him run off the track. Unfortunately, Lorenzo Fellon has been penalised a few times for exceeding track limits. He penalised himself out of a rostrum finish at the first weekend in Jerez, and he has got to be very, very careful that he doesn't do that again. So back with the leaders then. Billy Van Eerd led at the start of the lap, but he's just been passed on the turn into the corner there by Yuki Cooney on the 92 machines. They go down the hill. Billy Van Eerd, the Australian, still in 2nd place, but it's Cooney, the Japanese, still recovering from that wrist injury, who has taken up the running again with 8 laps to go.
Tate up to 3rd. Lawrence Fellon doing a great job there. He obviously was using the paint and a little bit more on the inside coming down the hill there, but looking good. Not exceeding track limits when you're on the paint, but he certainly likes to get his money's worth.
yeah. So down the hill we go. 7.5 laps remaining. 92 is Yuki Cooney. There's the 99 machine in 3rd place of Cup leader Carlos Tate. 56 in 4th place is Noguchi. Acosta, I think he's a danger man there in 5th place, even though he didn't qualify that well. Uriart certainly has thoughts of a podium. There's Fellon, Dupasquier, Cook in 9th, Gavin Planck's up to 10th, ahead of Escrigue.
You can never write Acosta off Pedro Acosta. He doesn't always qualify the best, but he's always got plenty of speed.
And he's very, very quick rider, and off onto the green stuff go a few of the riders towards the back of that pack. Up onto the start and finish. They'll just have 7 laps remaining. It still is Cooney, Tate, Billy Van Eerd there pulls across the other side of the track, taking Noguchi with him. 37 up the inside with a big outbraking manoeuvre is Pedro Acosta, and I think he's slotted himself into a very good 3rd place as they swing left and go down the hill. That's as high as Pedro has been so far this race, and he's looking good. Don't want to curse him as well. Chasing Cooney and Tate.
Cooney deciding he'd like a little run at the front, but Carlos Tate just keeping everything in hand, keeping control of things, keeping everything within his sight. No fast laps coming at this point, but you can see Cooney's got a little gap there as they head down the hill through these fast left-handers. Up through all the gears, 6 gears in the little RC 250 RKTMs here. Up a couple of gears, back a gear as they head back up the hill here, back to 4th, and then through the flip-flop, and then down the waterfall, and then back all the way up to 6th gear.
And Haruki Noguchi's in 4th place. He very much fancied his chances of winning the race today, telling me after qualifying. Wasn't boasting about it, but he really felt confident. He said the bike's handling well. He said I'm going to go out and try and win this one tomorrow. So Acosta has other ideas. He's slotted past Carlos Tate and up into 2nd place. almost lost it again on the exit to Tatai because he was a bit ragged on the way out, but you're looking back from Tatai's bike at Noguchi as we go up onto the start and finish to complete lap 13. Noguchi on 56.
That's interesting there, Carlos Tatai's bike, the way has it geared, it was on the rev limiter there in 6th gear, so pretty much perfect, but if you're in a slipstream, when you hit the rev limiter in 6th gear, then it's going to hold you back, but certainly got it geared for drive up the hill onto start finish.
So that lead group still all together, and you know, it can all change around completely, but it's Cooney that has the advantage over Acosta. Down the hill. Costa, he was a superb rider at the selection event at the end of last year. He was quicker than anybody else by a long way. Looked fantastic on the motorcycle. Was a shoe-in for an invitation to the Rookies Cup. Cooney has been warned to drop one position due to gaining advantage at turn 11. I don't know if you exactly saw what he did, Neil. I certainly didn't.
Oh, really? I didn't see him exceeding track limits or cutting across the track or anything, but obviously the race direction is watching, and he will be given that signal on a board. So
Acosta went past into the lead. I don't think he actually was gifted it by Yuki Cooney, but it's Costa who has the advantage. Cooney has dropped back one position, but to Noguchi, Tatai fell on up to 5th ahead of Billy Van Aert and Uriarte. There is Cooney. He'll be signalled that he's got to drop a position, but of course in these circumstances they very often don't see those signs. It's not easy, but he has, you know, he will probably say that he's now given up a place to Carlos Tatai.
It's very unusual on any lap for a rookie not to drop a place anyway, just with the nature of the racing, but I guess he has to do it after he passes the start finish on that lap.
Well, if I were him, whether he knows it or not, I'd certainly claim that after the race. Anyway, and a big slide from Pedro Acosta there, and that has left Carlos Tatai up into first place. Just what happened there, Neil?
Just on the edge of the tyre, just ran out of the tyre, just protested really, and that just shows you how hard these guys are riding, right, really on the edge of the tyre. And Acosta getting to the front, I'm sure he thought, right, let's get my head down and see if I can create a gap here, and just that. But one tiny mistake, a couple of tenths of a second, that would have cost them, but of course it's cost him a couple of positions.
That's right, it's now cost him, he's back to 4th place, and he's sort of looking over his shoulder. Do you think it's actually shaken him a little bit, Neil, and ruined his concentration, his confidence, because he's going back another place?
That's right, every rider deals with these things differently. I teach my kids that if they get a moment at all, just try and ignore it, just forget it even happened and keep focusing and practice ignoring things. But some riders need a moment or a few corners just to gather their thoughts and get things back together. It's best if you can just ignore things and carry on, and that was exceeding track limits. Who was that?
I think so, yeah. He's gone back, but he went backwards exceeding track limits, and now actually Acosta's dropped back to 5th place, so he went from 1st to 5th because of one slide, and he's coming back again though. He's coming back.
It might be that he just totally didn't expect it and felt like he wasn't doing anything different, and maybe for a moment thought there was a problem with his rear tyre or there's a bike or his bike, but
said he didn't feel like he was doing anything different. That's exactly what he said on the first lap at Assen when he spat himself off going on to the back straight. He got into the lead on the first lap at Assen in race 2 after a superb performance in race 1, and then just spat himself off going on to the back straight. He said, I didn't feel I was doing anything different. Well, you know,
red flag.
Oh dear,
I'm not sure what that was. I didn't see any incidents, or maybe something on the track.
But that's the end of the race, and the race will be called. We'll count back a lap. I won't be able to tell you who's actually won this, but that definitely will be the end of the race. I think we've done 16 of 19 laps.
Not sure.
We have no idea why that is, but it's been red flagged. I don't see any rain. We didn't see any major accident. Let's hope nobody's seriously injured. But it's the end of the race, and we'll have to wait for an official result, because although it's saying Tatai, Cooney, Noguchi, Acosta, Bernard, Dupasquier, we'll see when they count the result back to. So it's pointless really for us to speculate on who's going to be called the winner of that race. Most unfortunate, but that is the end of race 1, the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup here at the Sachsenring. And well, the only faller we saw was David Salvador, and I didn't see that he had that it was that nasty. And in fact, I think he got up. Yes, no, of course we saw him get up because he tried to go back to the bike and restart it. So really a bit of a mystery there. We certainly didn't see anything that happened, and that was some time ago.
There's no rain forecast, definitely, and it's certainly looking at the sky here looks quite clear. Clouds are quite high.
Yeah. And as far as we are aware, everybody was running, but I'm sure we'll pass on any information as soon as we have it. But and we'll get a result for you, of course. But I'm pretty sure that will be the end of the race.
Yeah, talking about riders not doing anything different, then we have got a faller here. We have got a faller.
Oh dear.
That looks like the last turn up the hill onto the start-finish straight. So obviously couldn't move the rider.
Yeah, no, obviously
he
needs an attention. That was away from our screen. Yeah, and I'm afraid we don't know who that is. When we have news, we will pass it on to you. But obviously there was no doubt that race had to be stopped with somebody needing attention at the side of the race like that. Involving rider 44 is Nicolas Hernandez, the 16-year-old Colombian.
I can only think there's maybe been some contact with another rider and he was pushed off to the right.
Yeah.
It's always a bit of hustle, a bit of a jostle going into the last corner, fighting for track position, and maybe he was just maybe got nudged off to the right there.
Yeah. So that's a most unfortunate way to end the race. And as I say, we'll give you any information as soon as we have it. I may be wrong, but I do believe that the race is very likely to be called a result.
Well, if it's past,
it's a standing of 14 laps of 19. So that they have counted back, and what we're seeing on our timing screen is Acosta, Cooney, Tatai, Noguchi, Fellon, Van Aert, Uriart, Dupasquier, Cook, Escrig, Bertelli 11th, Gabin Planks, Rouge, Van der Goorberg, Tom.
Yes, because when it was red flag, Tatai was the rider that went over the line first, so they would go back a lap.
So it may well be that Pedro Acosta is counted the winner, but we don't have official confirmation of that at the moment.
Turn 12.
Yep. So unfortunately, we have a player waiting game here, waiting to know exactly a confirmation of the official result and just what is going to happen, whether the race will be restarted. But I don't believe it will. And obviously he's receiving the very best attention, of course. And, you know, the great thing is that having a Rookies Cup race as part of the Grand Prix here, they have exactly the same medical attention and facilities as the top Grand Prix riders, and with Alpine Stars suits. And you can see the final results based on the standing as of lap 14. So the race will not be restarted. And the result, as I have it on our timing screen, is Acosta, Cooney, Tatai, Noguchi, Fellon, Van Aert, Uriart, Dupasquier, Cook, Escrig, Bertelli, Planks, Rouge, Van der Goorberg and Ton. Right. And what a shame, because apart from the fact that obviously someone has been injured, we had an absolutely incredible race on our hands. And those guys, you know, 10 guys battling for the lead there. No quarter asked or given, but it was very, very clean fight, wasn't it?
It was great, and we've got a great bunch of rookies this year. They're very mature, they're very safe, they look after each other, and they're very fast. And as we can see, quite often we've got a bunch of 11 or 15 riders all in that great battle for the podium. So yeah, really unusual that there is incidents, but obviously it was out of camera shot, so And yeah, as you said, I think that's one of the faster left-handers as they head back up the hill. So
yeah, so the news coming through to us is that our man is conscious. Nicolas Hernandez is conscious, which is always, you know, the first very important good sign. So let's hope that it isn't too desperately serious. Naturally, in such a circumstance like that, there is, you know, there's no spare space there to work on the guy. It's very much sort of just off or on just on the racing line. So it has to be red flagged, and so that he can get attention. That's really the main reason for stopping the race. He doesn't necessarily have to be very seriously injured to stop the race. It's just obviously he needs the attention, and they have to get the ambulance there, and the people need to attend to him. So let's hope that he isn't too seriously injured. Nicolas Hernandez, the 16-year-old Colombian, and you know, that he will soon be back in action. Meanwhile, we are going to talk to the winners, the first three, and that is Acosta, Cooney and Tatai. Pedro Acosta, not the way he wanted to win the race, I'm sure, but racing is racing, and he certainly earned his climb up to the front of the field there. He did a really superb job, only qualified in 10th place, came off the 4th row of the grid, battled through to the front until he was leading when, of course, he had that big slide and dropped back to 5th place.
And it's important for riders towards the end of the race, when they're past 2/3 distance, that they try and be at the front, just for that reason. But it doesn't really matter up to then. If it's not gone that distance, then it will be stopped and restarted. So, but once you get into the latter stages of the race, always good to try and be at the front over the start-finish line every single time.
And he went from 1st back to 5th, but he'd already started to come forward again. I think, in fact, he'd got up to 4th or even 3rd place when it was red flagged. So he was certainly in the battle for the win.
So great, we've got another winner. We've got a new winner, a 3rd winner this year. Sure, Carlos Tate will have something to say that he had a plan, but
yeah. That's right. And Pedro Acosta, he's got 2 second places already, so he's topped that by a 3rd. He was 2nd at Mugello when Carlos Tatai ran away with the race, 2nd in race 1 at Assen. Of course, as I say, he spat himself off, rejoined the race to finish 15th in the 2nd race at Assen just a week ago. He missed the first 2 races of the season because he hurt himself in practice at Jerez, but he's certainly a man to watch. As I say, he was so quick at our selection event, and it's great to see him, you know, proving his worth with a couple of 2nd places and already his first Rookies Cup win. So there goes the ambulance away to the medical centre. Let's hope that the news continues to be good from Nicolas Hernandez.
And these guys with the best of safety equipment, Schubert helmets and the Alpine Stars airbag suit, so they've certainly got everything they need when the accidents do happen.
And here's a replay. That's across the start and finish line. 37, it is Pedro Acosta who leads. 92 is Cooney. 99 Tatai. That was the lap 14, so that is where the race was counted. He crossed the line there with the advantage, and that is what's given him the victory. So we'll now hear from our points leader.
Here we are. Tell us about this race.
Oh, it was a difficult race. I was always studying, and I tried to push several times, but when I see that I couldn't escape, so I tried to keep on the back of the group and study my rivals, but it wasn't possible to win this race. Not every day is Christmas, so I'm happy with this result. It was a difficult podium, it was strange, but well, races are like this, and hope to make tomorrow a better race. So thank you to all.
Excellent, well done. Thank you, Carlos.
Great, not every day is Christmas. Well, you've got to take that one.
Brilliant interview from Carlos Tate there. Race winner in the past, and not saying that he was going to win the race at all. It was a difficult race, and he's happy with his podium position. He'll try again tomorrow. Great.
And you see there, 29, Billy Van Aert. He might count himself as one of the unlucky losers here. Actually, crossed the line in 6th place when it counted.
Yuki Cooney, how did you find it out there?
Yeah, it was so tough, the race. I was beginning, I was try push, but I know the big group, so try to keep the for until the last, but I was get one drop position. So I get when I get one drop position. So then after get the letter flag, but finally I get come back the here podium. So I'm very happy. Thanks to the Rookies Cup staff and everybody. So try to tomorrow more better. Thank you.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, so he obviously did, despite my doubt, he did see himself get that penalty warning. And there is beautiful change of direction. Again, Billy Van Aert, 29 in second place.
Yeah, Billy Van Aert in the top 3 for the majority of that race, and like you said, just unfortunate on that lap 14 he wasn't.
Yeah, but I think he'll be philosophical about it. He knows after his disastrous start of the year he's not in the hunt for the overall cup, but he knows he's certainly in the run for a podium or a race win sooner or later.
Pedro Acosta, talk to us about this race.
Well, incredible race. 2 races ago, all the time, second place. But now, in the middle of the race, I have more grip, and I can push more gas. And in the 5-6 laps to go, I prefer push to do a less group, and I am very happy with this first position.
I'm sure you are. Well done.
Yeah, great to hear, and I think we're going to hear a lot more from that young man as the season goes on. Here he is on the number 37 machine. But so fascinating, Neil, is you're discussing the way he did get affected by that slide, and he's got something he's obviously got to work on.
Yeah, we were talking about that before, and I think he's, like we're talking about riders that do nothing different, but I think his thing is just to try and feel that limit, because he's getting to the limit, he's going very fast, and the next thing you know is he's over it. But it's just experience, getting to know when you are at the limit and knowing not to push past it. So that'll come, but he's got the speed, he's got the pace, and every day is a school day.
So there is confirmation of the results then. Pedro Acosta, Yuki Kuni, Carlos Tatai, and Noguchi. He won't be happy with 4th, nor, well, Fallon might be happy enough with 5th, because, he had a good run there. Billy Van Aert certainly isn't going to be happy with 6th, ahead of Marco Suriat de Pasquier. Alex Escrig, a good run to 10th, ahead of Bertelli, who hasn't had much luck. Gabin Planks, Clement Rouget, Zonta van der Gerberg, another strong point scoring finish from him, and Philip Ton getting a point in his home race. Excellent to see that. And those guys, Philip Ton and Zonta van Gerberg, 2 of the younger guys in the cup. Tyler Scott, he is the youngest, in fact. He is 19th, ahead of Nicolas Hernandez. Of course, he counts as a winner because it is counted back and before the red flag lap. And here's the championship. Absolutely no doubt about who's leading it, of course. Carlos Tatai. Yuki Kuni has pegged him back a couple of points by finishing ahead of him in that race. David Salvador lost out by crashing, naturally, and Pedro Acosta up into 4th place. Haruki and Noguchi hanging in there in 5th, ahead of Jason de Pasquier. Cook in 10th place. And already this year, every one of the rookies has scored a point, which is superb to see. And Zonta van Gerberg in 14th place, Billy Van Aert back in 15th because of that disastrously unlucky start to the season. And the last of the points getters. And they're all going to have the opportunity to add to that total tomorrow. And really, I don't think that this race today, Neil, give us any clue just what to expect on Sunday.
No, because it's always in the closing stages that we see who's got something left, we see who can push, we can see whose bike's set up and tyres last the best, and we didn't get to that point. It's almost like a little bit of an anticlimax. Fantastic race up until that point, but I think we'll see a different order on the podium tomorrow, and maybe any of the top 6 guys I think could climb up on there, and we saw for most of that race the top 10 were battling for podium positions.
Well, that's the first time that actually Carlos Tatai has stood on the 3rd place on the podium this year. He was 2nd in race 1. This was the man who won race 1, was Yuki Kuni. So he's in 2nd place as he stood in the race 2 at Jerez. And for the first time on the top step of the podium, it is Pedro Acosta, a 15-year-old Spaniard, his first year in the Rookies Cup racing. And absolutely wonderful to see. And the consistent thing is that we're going to have the Spanish national anthem, those wonderful replica trophies of the KTM RC 250R, and the trophies being awarded today by Adrian Gugemos, the German freestyle trials athlete. His slogan is "Making the impossible possible." So there it is, Pedro Acosta, his first win. Let's see if he can rack up a second one tomorrow. That will be showing at 15:30 the race starts, 15:30 the TV show. But until then, it's goodbye from Neil Mackenzie and myself, Peter Clifford.